All right, it looks like we're good. So I was thinking that before we dig into our data, let's quickly review our learning target and success criteria, just to make sure that the evidence that we collected is a good indicator of where we want our students to be in terms of their intended learning, and to ensure that our checkpoint will give us good data, good and valid data, and good next steps. So I'm going to go ahead and just show so we can look at your daily do from 1.7. Looks like we had, that I can determine relative humidity and describe how humidity and relative humidity are used by meteorologists to predict weather. So our bigger learning is that they're able to use these tools to predict weather. And then we have, I can compare and contrast humidity and relative humidity. I can use a wet, dry bulb temperature chart to calculate relative humidity. And I can describe why hot air can hold more water vapor than cold air. So when we think about our assessment and what we were wanting, the skills that we were wanting our students to master, we really focused in and honed in on that success criteria number 2 of calculating relative humidity. Can you just share a little bit about why a skill like this is important? Like why a skill like calculating relative humidity and using and analyzing a chart like this is important for our 8th graders and their success and their ability to predict weather?
So in particular with like this chart and analyzing weather, it helps us see if it's currently raining or if we have like a high pressure or low pressure system coming in to help us predict future weather. But beyond going for the standard, reading and analyzing charts is something that they're going to use their entire life. So just being able to have that skill is a great foundation for them.
Awesome. And it's so cross content too. That
right.
shows up in math and in social studies and in ELA. So it's important that we are able to allow them different experiences within that skill too, to help build that endurance and that knowledge.
Right.
All right, so let's look at our test or the checkpoint, excuse me, and think about the misconceptions that we thought might arise and identify some of those misconceptions in our answer choices before we get started at looking at individual student responses. So on question number 1, our first important step in order to calculate the relative humidity is for them to find the difference between the dry bulb and the wet bulb. So do you just want to walk us through our answer choices to make sure that if students did answer incorrectly, that we can identify what misconception they had?
Exactly. So the first one is the correct answer. 15 minus 6 is 9. The second choice, negative 9, is just if they switched the order of them. So if they did 6 minus 15. The 44 is down on the next part, is like through the chart. They went straight to the chart and they looked at 15 and 9 as their 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just went straight for it and got 15 and 6. Sorry, first is the 44.
Yep.
Yep. And then the other one right below that, the 20, is if they went straight to the chart after they did subtract. So if they did 15 and 9, got them the 20, which is the answer that we're looking for on the second question, but not yet in the first step.
Okay.
And then 21 is if they just add instead.
Okay. So that'll help us identify if they missed the first question, what their misconception was. And then down here on the bottom one, what they were then to do is use their first step of finding the difference and then using the dry bulb temperature and the difference. Sorry, I don't know why this is doing it to me. I made up. Anyways, changing the test on us here. So what we were asking them to do on this one is to use the dry bulb and the difference to find the relative humidity.
Right.
So, as you mentioned earlier, 20 was that's the correct answer. So they used 15 and 9. And then what about our other options?
Can you scroll up just I think 9 was just that they subtracted and didn't do anything with it.
Right.
And then 0 is if they reversed it and did 9 on the left side and then 15 on the top.
So that
Those
would be
blank
like,
boxes are 0. Yep.
it's blank, so it means there's no moisture, no precipitation. Okay. I don't know why I'm in edit mode. I'm sorry.
I don't know either. That's okay.
Okay, and then we have 100.
100 was just like to throw them off a little bit. So it, like, you don't know how to, clearly you don't know how to use it, but it would be if if it was like on the far left side of this, in between like the dry bulb temperature and our farthest readings.
Okay. And 44 was our same misconception from the top question about just saying, okay, I'm going to use 15 and 6 and not find the difference.
Exactly.
They're able to maybe make sense of analyzing, but they just weren't able to calculate it correctly.
Right.
Oh.
Or notice that on the top it says difference between wet and dry bulb, not wet bulb on even the chart itself.
It may not say that after I do all my editing that I'm doing right now. You have no idea what this will say when I'm done. All right, let's go through and look at our students from 103. So it'll be about the first 18 students.
Okay.
And just see where they are, and if you think that that is truly indicative of where they are and where they should be. And then if they're not there, let's talk about some supports for them. So if you don't mind, I'll just keep track of our 0s, 2s, and 4s, and then we can talk about supports after. So it looks like this is Madison. She got a 4.
And I agree with that score. She's been working hard and asking questions and doing the work as we go.
Mm-hmm. She asked great questions. Okay, Christian, also a 4.
And I also agree with that score too. He's really pushing himself to answer the questions and learn from his mistakes.
Eliana.
I agree with that one too. It's also a good, like, it was frustrating the day before for her, so she ended up coming back the next day a lot stronger and doing the work and practicing it overnight.
Good for her. That's what we want to see. Mia, also 4.
I also agree with that too.
They're going to throw any bones for differentiation today?
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay, all right. So
Dathan, I agree with that too.
Okay.
Hard worker and yeah, definitely challenging himself.
Awesome. AJ.
Same with AJ too. He ended up actually staying into the passing period yesterday to get some help on this concept. So it's good to see that it like showed off and he's able to follow through and still answer them correctly.
And see success. Like, how cool for him. Put in the effort, you're going to see the success. So cool.
Right.
Good for him. All right, Mason. Let's dig in and see. It looks like he got the first question correct. So he was able to accurately find the difference. And then his misconception was the difference again.
Yep. So didn't use the chart at all.
Okay.
Information from the previous question.
So maybe he wasn't sure what to do with that.
The numbers.
Okay. All right. So then we have Damien. And it looks like he
went to the chart.
Yeah, went to the chart and maybe used it correctly, but didn't follow the right steps.
Right.
Because
but then he would have gotten this other one wrong too.
Yeah, so
I think he's just confused.
Okay. So
which makes sense, yeah. Try to goof around a little bit more. Yep.
Okay.
Definitely needs that.
Because it looks like if he truly found 20 and 44 on his chart, he may know how to analyze it. He just doesn't, he's a little confused about how and why.
Right.
All right, Aiden is a 4.
I agree with this too.
Hannah.
Hannah. Yep.
EJ. Okay, looks like EJ got the first answer correct, but her misconception was to just use 15 and 6, right? Or 50, yeah.
Yep. The original numbers.
Right. Okay, so she wasn't quite sure on that second step of what to do
Right.
with those numbers, how to use the difference and the wet bulb. Okay. Brianna, she got 4 out of 4. What do you think
Yep.
of her?
I agree. She's working hard, asking questions. Since it took her a little bit longer, I'm sure she went back to her notes and got some help on that.
Awesome. Using those resources.
Yes.
Angelina. Let's see. She found the difference correctly. But again, same as EJ, missed that second step.
Right.
Or maybe not the second step, that's not the right words, but using,
Right. The right numbers.
yes, using the difference and the wet bulb instead of just the wet bulb and the dry bulb. Ian, 0. So his misconceptions were adding instead of the difference. And then, all right.
Yeah. I agree with this.
Pretty representative.
Yeah. He's been trying a little bit harder since this point, but this was when the effort was low and not asking questions, falling in the chat.
All right. Kevin, 2 out of 4. So he was able to find the difference,
Yay.
but then he just,
And then, yeah,
yeah,
wasn't sure what to do with it once he got there.
right, right. Xavier. So he took 6 minus 15,
Right.
made it a little,
Switch the order.
yeah. And then,
Use the original numbers.
yeah,
Right.
yep, yep.
Yeah. Needing a full reteach, it seems.
Yes. Angelina.
Agree with that.
She's pretty on point.
Yeah.
And Daniela. She was able to find the difference, but then again, same as many other students in our 2, just use the first 2 numbers.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. That was our last kid in 101. And then let's chat about what we think would be good next steps. So we had 3 students that received a 0, 5 students with 2s, and the majority, all of them missed the second question instead of the first. And students who received a 4. So let's start with our 0s. What are you thinking for them? How do we catch them up?
So a small group reteach is what I'm thinking with that group when the others are able to do a little bit more practice. That individualized attention and going back through it and then making sure that each of them get it for each of the steps.
Okay. So doing like check-ins with them throughout that small group. Are you thinking to pull them in a separate Google Meet during work time?
I think that'd be better for them to not be called out in front of everyone.
Just send them private notes during work time.
Yep.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, what about our 2s?
So since they all got the first one right, I think the subtraction's not an issue. Just going over how to read the chart and what numbers to use on the chart. So just a quick reteach, and I think they'll be fine on that. So going back and rewatching the video we made, or looking at, yep, I would say watching the video first while I'm helping the others in the individual group, and then coming back in with them and checking in and seeing if they feel more confident and finishing the practice.
That's a great use of that video, because then the zeros, they're not zeros.
Right.
Our
Those who need more support.
Yes, our full reteach students can get that individualized attention, while our twos are able to utilize that reteach video that you've created. I love that. All right, we have 10 students who mastered our skills check. What are you thinking for them?
So we ended up running out of time, but going backwards is going to be a good skill for them. So like if the humidity is whatever percent it is, and I know the current temperature is this, then going backwards on the chart would be a great skill for them. And then also connecting it to our next step, which is weather stations. And on weather stations, it doesn't tell you the relative humidity, but it gives you the temperature and the dew point, and then from that, they're able to calculate it. So taking it one step further to be able to apply it a little bit more.
Awesome. I think that's a great extension for those kids who are, we have a little bit of everything, right? We have those students that need our full reteach, and those students that just need a little more practice, and students that are ready to extend their learning. And I think that sounds like a really good follow-up plan for tomorrow.
Perfect.
Yay, thank you.
Of course. Thank you.